Good evening, everyone. It is August 13th, Tuesday evening at 6:34. We're a little late. The board just met in executive session to discuss some legal matters. But we will begin this meeting now. This is the regular meeting of the Northern Lebanon School District Board of Directors. I do call this meeting to order. Director England.
Then I should stand. We protect the flag. Pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now to observe a moment of silence.
Okay, Madam Secretary, may I please have a roll call?
Director Blau? Here. Director Fowler?
Present.
Director Klein?
Present.
Director Kreiser?
Present.
Director Moyer?
Here.
Director Murray?
Here.
Director Williams?
Here.
Vice President England?
Here.
President Nam?
Present.
All present.
Great, thank you very much. So first item for this evening is adoption of the agenda. The agenda was posted publicly within the parameters specified under the school code, and everyone has had an opportunity to review. Is there a motion to adopt this evening's agenda?
Motion to adopt tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Williams as a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, my vote is also a yes, so motion carries unanimously. Dr. Messinger, we have presentations, but I think the only one we have, so no presentations this evening. We'll move immediately to Dr. Messinger's report.
Okay, well, we're actually going to start with Leanne tonight. The fiscal year is over and she's done some preliminary numbers. Obviously, we get a more thorough audit as we get closer to Christmas time. And also the budget for the state was passed. So she's going to go over a little bit of a recap from last year and a preview of this year with the new budget and what that means for us.
Correct. I'll just wait a moment. Slide. Yeah. So I just wanted to review, first of all, with everyone again, the funds that we have here at Northern Lebanon School District. This was part of my budget slide. Just a reminder that here we do have a general fund, and then within the general fund, we have an ending fund balance of unassigned funds. Some of them are assigned, which is for our capital projects, and then some of them are in a reserve, which is our healthcare fund underneath the general fund. And then we also have a food service fund, which is where we operate all of our cafeteria expenses and income out of. And then we have a separate fund for capital projects, which is only active when we have construction projects. So it's been very active for the last few years, but that will go away once construction is done. And then we have our debt service fund, which is we transfer money out of the general fund into the debt service fund just to pay our bond payments so that we have standalone bond payment tracking. And then we also have agency funds, which we are fiduciary responsible for this money because it is students' money. So those are the student activity funds, and we do help monitor those and the spending of the students' money. So those are the funds that we have here at Northern Lebanon School District. And I just wanted to put that up in front of everybody to kind of keep in the back of our minds the different ways in which we track our money and spending. So this is a graph or a pie chart, which shows our 23-24 general fund revenue. It's not completely closed out or audited yet. In fact, we still have receivables that we're waiting to come in for that could slightly change this number, but it's majorly done at this point. So as you can see, the sale of the buildings the money came in just in time. So we closed on those June 26th, the last two. So we had the sale of the buildings last year. All four were sold in the 23-24 fiscal year. And that came out to approximately 8.7 million. And that would be the blue on the pie chart. And then we have our local money, which is pretty much primarily tax revenue. And that's the 29.7 million there. And that would be your big, I guess it's an orangish color there, the darker orange. And then our state money, which is our state funding, which is the almost 6 million. And then that would be the gray color. And then our federal funding at 1.2, which is that tiny little sliver of pie there. The federal funding was 1.2 million. We were still receiving some ESSER's money and things, ESSER money in last year that won't be repeating. We typically do not have that much money in federal money. We could go to the next slide. Thank you. And then I just wanted to point out the big hitters and things where it varied from budget, because as you can see, we were estimating a budget of 53.2, and we're estimating right now that we have 58.7. So we obviously came in over budget, and I just wanted to explain that to you all to see where the variances were. So we had good tax collections this year in real estate. The real estate transfer taxes for the sale of homes was up again. Also the interim taxes were up as well, which is when they're building or changing, they have to pay throughout that process. Those taxes were higher, and earned income taxes were up again. So that was almost $1 million. It was $900,000 in that local revenue. We also, our interest income, although I had budgeted higher than I typically did for interest, the interest rates were very favorable last year. We also had some cash coming in with the sale of the buildings. So we did do very well in our interest income last year to the tune of $590,000. And then while we did budget for the sale of the buildings, things weren't all final. We weren't sure on like expenses and fees. And those did come in about $700,000 above what I had originally budgeted when we put those in. One of the things that we used to get Plan Con money, we no longer are eligible for Plan Con money, and a 22-23. So a prior year's payment from the state came in late. So that was a one-time revenue stream as well that landed last year that wasn't budgeted. Then we had IU 22-23, which was also a prior, we call it a prior expense reimbursement, but we have to code it as revenue for the state audit. So the IU gave us back $320,000 from a prior year of what we had paid them. Basically, I believe it was because they were understaffed, so their expenses weren't as high, so they have to divvy that back out. And then state basic ed funding, you know, we always typically have flatlined that. We did, and the state came through with basic ed funding, an addition of $686,000 above what we budgeted. And then, like I had mentioned on that previous slide, ESSER's funding, we had gotten over $1 million of the ESSER funding that we had already spent and reported in. It just till it came through the state and got reimbursed to us. That was also hitting our revenue streams for last year. So those are our revenues and why we were over budget and why I'm estimating that we're getting 58.7 million for us.
And just I just want to reiterate for anyone out there listening, you say over budget. Over budget has a negative connotation when I hear that word. You mean in this particular case, over budget's a good thing. We had more revenue for a variety of reasons. Some of it was coming in that should have come in last year that didn't, and some of it was not able to be predicted, but it was a positive in this.
Correct. Our revenue exceeded budget. So we had more money coming into our bank accounts than what we had budgeted for them to come in. Now we're going to turn over to the general fund expense summary, and we are estimating that at 42.7 million, which again is above our budget that we had done at 40.6 million. So I just wanted to kind of show you the heavy hitters there and what happened with our expenses and why we were also over budget here. Healthcare was over budget to the tune of $875,000 as of close of fiscal year June 30th. However, as many of you who have been here in prior years know that that number will absolutely change when you get the audited numbers and will be higher because we do something called a lag report, and the insurance only gets billed from the doctor's office up to 30 days, I believe, later till it comes through insurance, and we get billed for it at 60 days. So we go back and we take expenses up to 90 days and we will push those back. So we're probably looking at healthcare being $1 million over budget till we get that 90-day lag report in, and we push those back with the auditors when they come in October this year. The auditorium expense, which we were well aware was going to go on, and we had planned for this, the auditorium expense is coming out of the capital projects in the general fund, but it obviously shows as an expense in 23-24. And it's not done. So we have only paid a portion of the expenses, but at the end of the fiscal year, we had paid $267,000 of that.
Let me just hit on that. This was decided prior to knowing that we could do the auditorium as an alternate. This covered a new curtain. It covered lighting. We had made that decision before we went out to bid on that project to use Pittsburgh lighting. We did wait to have some of that work done until it could be coordinated with the construction that's going to go on. That's what that is. And some of them weren't even on the board at that point. So I'm just trying to give the background there.
Thanks. Yeah, sometimes it just gets a blur with the construction of the last 2 years and timing of it all. Charter school expenses were higher than anticipated for the budget at 420,000. And then transportation gets increased every year based per the contract that we had with DB Fisher by the CPI, and that came in a little bit higher and things were just more expensive. So that was also over budget. And then if you recall, interest rates were favorable for us to go out for our bond to start the high school renovation project in the spring. We were originally, when we did the budget, anticipating doing that in the fall. So because we went out in the spring, we had to make a payment on that, which ended up in the 23-24 year. So that debt payment was also over budget to the $250,000 there. And if you look at if you did the quick math, you could tell our revenues were higher than our expenses, obviously with the sale of the buildings being over $8 million, that we are expecting about $10 million. With obviously the 8 million of that is being moved over to capital projects. Over 8 million of that will be put into capital projects to be used for the construction that's coming up too. And now on to this year's budget, the 24-25 state funding impact. So after it's all said and done, compared to our budget and what the state decided to send our way, it's going to be an additional 970,000. And I put below the buckets of where it's coming in at. And as you can see, the basic ed funding, after going back and forth many times, Gary and I did decide for the budget that we were going to increase and not level budget with the state's funding. So we went up to 9.9 million. The enacted budget actually came in at 9.6 million for basic ed funding. The special ed funding is slightly higher as well. Now you'll see the Ready to Learn grant. So the state did give us more money, obviously, because I said it was additional 970,000. And you can see the majority of it is in that Ready to Learn grant. So the additional money comes with some stipulations. There is a webinar that's being put out by PDE and PASBO next week. I think August 21st is next week, that I will be attending with Wendy Reardon in my office as well to learn about it. They sent out an initial email just this morning on the different areas we could spend it in. So Gary and I are looking at that and brainstorming to be able to use those funds because they do come with some stipulations in the Ready to Learn grant. We got a little bit extra money in our career and tech ed subsidy, a little bit extra in mental health and safety grant. And then they decided to give us some charter relief, which is pennies on the dollar of what we spend for it. But that was the state kind of saying, here you go. So there is $197,000 of charter relief to help us out. So we'll take everything we can get. We appreciate it, but it's pennies on the dollar. So if you have any questions on any of those, let me know. If you want to see the email of what we could spend the Ready to Learn grant on, I have that printed out with me.
I can hit two things right away.
Yeah.
The full day K class is eligible. So the fact that we could pilot the full day K class this year due to kindergarten numbers is eligible. And the dual enrollment grant that or dual enrollment cost that I talked about last week is eligible. And then we'll have to do some work. And our goal is not to spend the additional money, but to find some of those things that we already do to help cover that. Like all things with the state, it'd be nice if they just gave us the full amount and said, just do with it what you want to do with it. But they don't do that. And so we're stuck, in some of these cases, we just need to make sure that we're categorizing it correctly.
Correct. It's just a lot of additional tracking and making sure that it's going in the buckets they deem okay.
So Leanne, for the first time in 5 years, we projected higher funding from the state instead of level. Do you happen to know what level funding would have been?
Well, we added 500,000 to that, I
500.
believe. So
Okay. Okay. So you landed somewhere in the middle.
yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
Oh, for all the buckets together. Yes. So
If you add all the buckets
Okay,
together,
gotcha.
it's 1.4.
Okay.
no, all those buckets together, the difference is 970, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was only the basic ed funding that
Right.
we
that I had changed
typically
the
level
budget,
fund,
yes.
Went down
right?
3.
It went down 3. But what would have level funding been? Do you
Oh,
happen to
yeah,
know?
that's what I'm saying is then, so
Yeah.
we budgeted 9.9. I believe I added 500,000 to that, so we would have been at
So that
9.4,
9.4 would have been level funding. Okay, all right,
I believe.
good. Okay.
I'll confirm and get back to you for sure.
No, I was just curiosity.
The Ready to Learn grant, does that all need to be spent in 1 year, or does that carry over into future years?
That's for 24, 25.
That's strictly for.
They give us
24-25.
that funding every year, yes.
Okay.
It's a grant, so I'll have to get back to you for certain on this, but we usually have like 90 days to spend it afterwards to wrap up that year's
Right,
expenses.
okay,
But it needs to be basically in a 24, 25 expense.
thank you.
Yep, any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just a couple of quick other things. I talked about this last week a little bit. We are 3 weeks till the first day. Construction is moving along. I know there's a lot of stuff lying around. They will get that, but they're going to work for 2 more solid weeks, or at least a week and a half yet, and do as much as they can. And they're going to make as much mess as they can. And then they're all going to stop and they're going to clean up and, we'll be ready to go. But keep in mind that there will be parts of the building that are off access. The students, there'll be a divider, a partition. They won't be able to get to certain parts. They'll be working in those areas, and when that area is done, they'll open that area up and they'll go to a different area, and we'll move everybody during the year and go that route. But they're every single day, we see noticeable change. So they continue to work very hard at that. Sports have started. If you have any kids doing sports, we have girls volleyball going on, boys and girls soccer. We have field hockey going on. We have tennis going on. We have golf going on. We have football going on. First scrimmage, I think, is this Saturday. That's football, and then starts with scrimmages pretty much for everybody next week, and then games right after that. So starting to get rolling there. And just one note, we always do some in-servicing prior to school starting. A lot of it is going over initiatives for the district for the year. We did have to make some tweaks this year, just make sure that teachers don't feel it's hard to sit and listen when you know you have work to do in your room, and we know those high school teachers aren't getting in right now, so they're going to want to be in their rooms. But Thursday, we do have mental health scheduled for all staff, and 2 different sessions, one for elementary, one for secondary. Part of that will be dealing with our own personal mental health and ideas for us to be aware, and then what to do when we are aware. And then also the second half will be student mental health. So we're getting started with that initiative almost immediately. Felt it was important to get in before the school year started, and we're excited about that. And that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Okay, any old business for this evening? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to public comment. There is no public comment that was registered for this evening, so we'll move immediately to the items for board action. Should be noted, the public notice was given for this meeting in accordance with Act 84 of 1986. By notice of the president, the following action requires a voice vote. All votes in favor shall be stated with an aye or yes. All votes opposed shall be stated with a nay or no. All members abstaining shall state I abstain when prompted. The votes will be recorded in the minutes as a unanimous roll call vote unless there are any votes in opposition or abstention. If necessary, the president may subsequently call for a roll call vote to be recorded in the minutes. So the first item is the consent agenda. Any comments, Dr. Messinger?
Nope, just ask that you approve those items as presented.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda, which consists of items 8.1 through 8.9?
Motion to approve 8.1 through 8.9.
Thank you, Director Murray. Is there a second? Thank you, Director England. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So that's item, sorry. 8.8, we do have one abstention. 8.8A, thank you. Yes, 8.8A, one abstention. Any votes opposed? Okay, hearing none, my vote is also a yes. Motion carries unanimously with the exception of the one abstention noted. Okay, we'll move to the discussion agenda. Item 9.
Okay, this is the item that we had the speaker about last week that explained the contract for testing and emissions.
Okay, as I mentioned at the outset, the board did meet in executive session this evening to discuss legal matters surrounding this. Is there a motion to adopt item 9.1 as discussed in executive session?
Motion to approve 9.1 as discussed in exec session.
Okay, thank you, Director Murray. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Director Moyer. Any discussion? Okay, we will take a vote here on a roll call basis. So Madam Secretary, may I please have a roll call vote?
Chrysler,
No.
Moyer,
No.
Fowler,
Yes.
Williams,
No.
Blau,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
England,
Yes.
Nam.
No.
5-4. Motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, motion passes 5-4. We will move to 9.2.
Okay, 9.2. I talked last week about dual enrollment. This is authorizing us to work on procedures, develop procedures for the implementation of a pilot program. Right now, we'd be using grant money for that. I just want to make sure the board that that's something that the board's interested in doing before we put all those procedures together, and then we would bring that back to the board for final approval in September.
Okay, any questions regarding 9.2?
I don't necessarily have a question, but just sort of a comment, maybe suggestion is that if we do approve this, I would want the parents and the students to know that this is a pilot program and it does not guarantee future years.
Yep, I'll craft the entire letter
Right.
and you guys can take a look at that and see if there's anything else you feel needs to be
And I'm
added.
not saying that it wouldn't be available for future years, but at this point, we don't know.
Right,
So I would just want that to be made known.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions regarding this?
And do
Director Blau?
you estimate how much that costs, like how much of the state funds and
Mm.
that we can use for?
$400, estimate at 400. We're going to set an amount. I'm going to get all the amounts from all the different places to be able to settle that, just kind of like we do with a CBA for teacher reimbursement. It's approximately, most of the ones that I know of are about $400. We have 12 courses right now, so about $4,800.
Did you have a question?
Yes. How far back will families get reimbursed from previous years? Are we going to reimburse anybody?
Right now,
Starting
it's
from-
just set up for this
Okay.
particular year.
Okay, any other questions?
What if the money isn't, like if people don't take advantage of it and there's, this is mostly for kids going on to college. So what if they decide not to do the dual enrollment and we have money towards that program? What happens to that?
Well, what we're going to do, I mean, what I would be proposing is crafting a letter with the parameters and an explanation that it's a pilot and we're, taking a look at this. We're sending it to the kids that have enrolled or will enroll. And anyone that enrolls in a dual enrollment class, we would send them the letter to make them aware that if they, once the class is complete and they have a passing grade, that they would submit the receipt and that we would reimburse up to a certain dollar amount.
Okay, so we kind of have an idea how much it would be at this
Right.
point. Okay.
Right. I mean, there are students that schedules are still being finalized. There may be others that add some dual enrollments. I know for my son, for instance, we're debating one more dual enrollment class. So there may be a few additions or someone may take some the second semester, but right now it was 11 students with 12 total classes.
Any other questions? Okay, is there a motion to adopt item 9.2?
Motion to adopt 9.2.
Thank you, Director Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Blau. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving item 9.2, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, my vote is also a yes, so that motion carries. 9.3.
Last week, Director Klein talked a little bit about where he has done some work with the PIAA and advocating for the alternative championships. This resolution would enable we at any point as a district can add something to the agenda and advocate for something, but typically our school board directors aren't involved with that. This would actually allow Dave to kind of help with this particular topic as we discuss it with the PIAA.
Okay, any questions? Director Klein, did you want to add anything? You don't have to.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, is there a motion to adopt item 9.3?
Motion to approve.
Okay, thank you, Director England. Second,
I'll
Second.
second that.
Director Murray, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving 9.3, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, my vote is also a yes. Motion carries unanimously. 9.4.
It's just the secondary library books for the upcoming school year.
Okay, any questions on 9.4? Did you have,
Well, not so much a question, but there's just one series of books that I would not want to approve of with this list.
any questions?
Which series is that? There's
So-
tons
Do you
of
have the
them.
name?
So
of
the
it?
series is I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly or not, but the Skullduggery Pleasant series.
All right,
It's-
what I'd like to propose, assuming I have this correct, is that we will take this series off for now so that we can get further information to present to the board and then order the rest of the books a while. Is that?
That's fine, as long as there's like a motion and a second to amend it that way.
Yeah, let's proceed in that way then. To amend 9.3, I'll receive a motion to amend 9.3 as Director Williams indicated. I'm sorry, 9.4. Thank you, 9.4. Is there a motion to amend item 9.4?
Motion to amend 9.4.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Director Blau is a second. Thank you. Discussion on the motion to amend 9.4. Okay, all those in favor of amending 9.4 to remove the one identified series for now, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? I am a vote no for that. Any abstentions? Okay, believe that vote would be 8-1 in favor of amending 9.3. Okay.
9.4.
I'm sorry, 9.4, thank you. Point of order, 9.4. Okay, so do we have a motion for approving 9.4 yet? No, okay. Okay, is there a motion to approve 9.4 as amended?
Motion to approve 9.4 as
Okay.
amended.
Thank you, Director Blau. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Director Williams, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving 9.4, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries unanimously. 9.4 is approved as amended. Okay, 9.5.
9.5 is just the attached mentors for the 24-25.
Okay, any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve 9.5?
Motion to approve 9.5.
Thank you, Director Murray. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Blau. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving 9.5, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries unanimously. And finally, 9.6.
It's our annual MOU with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Okay, questions for the superintendent? Okay, is there a motion to approve 9.6? Okay, Director England has moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Director Williams is second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving 9.6, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That is it for our discussion agenda for this evening. We'll move to information items.
Yeah, I thank you for the annual review from Stock and Leader. Handbooks have been approved by them and are ready to go for the 24-25 school year. That,
Great.
no vote on that, but
Okay.
they're there for you to read everything, and we'll have a quiz next month.
So just a quick comment. I really like the elementary handbook embedding board policies throughout. They're referenced occasionally on the secondary side, but I would like to see, if possible, maybe with the next iteration, if they could incorporate the board policies. I like the look.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions regarding the handbooks? Okay, we will move then to item 11. This is our monthly reports. Change Order Committee. Director Fowler.
Oh, yeah, we had a ton of change orders, which you can see listed. The ones that really mattered that the committee dealt with really had to deal with doors and access and having to change wiring and make sure there was so there were safety issues and convenience issues with them. I don't remember the exact total that we voted on, but it wasn't cheap, I'll tell you that.
Okay. Okay, any questions for the Change Order Committee? Excellent report. Thank you, Director Fowler. CTC, Director Klein.
We didn't have a meeting last month. They were on summer break, just like us. And next Tuesday, Director Moyer is going to be attending in my absence.
Okay, fantastic. IU13, Director Murray.
We also were on break for the summer, so, yeah.
Okay, very good. Legislative Liaison, Director Kreiser.
Okay, so, state passed a budget eventually. Wasn't quite on time, but not terribly late considering some of the past years that they've done that. So, there was a small increase in funding for districts as we've seen, and there was actually a commitment to address the funding formula from both branches of government, the legislative and the executive, and both houses in the legislative branch. So a step forward there, but not completely addressing the issues at hand. Some other things of interest that were in the budget or weren't in the budget, there was no cap on the charter school tuition like we were hoping. The state did offer districts some money for it as more of a lump sum payment. So a little bit of relief, but not what we were hoping for. There is a revised funding for special ed students in charter schools though. So that will change that a little bit, the way in which that's calculated. And then two other things that were of interest were there was an approval in the state budget for cell phone pouches to be purchased by school districts that were interested in limiting access to cell phones during the school day by their students, and the state would pay for that so through a grant reimbursement. And there was also an increase in funding for school police officers, school security officers in each district. So if that was something we wanted to add to our, we probably could get state funding for that. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions? Great report. Thank you. Okay, that does it for reports for this evening. Is there any new business to bring to the board? Okay, hearing none, I'd just like to remind directors that we are invited to do a tour of the secondary school status of the renovations immediately following the meeting. And if there's nothing else to bring to the board, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Okay, Director England, Director Moyer, I'll count you as a
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning, please indicate with an aye or yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, this motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
All right, stay put.